Hey guys, welcome back. This is Rich coming at you with another lens review. Today we're looking at the SMC Pentax-M F2 50mm lens. Now on this channel I've reviewed several other 50mm from Pentax. This happens to be one that slipped by me. I've had this in my kit and I didn't realize it until I busted out several of my 50mm. Like, oh, I'm gonna do a side-by-side comparison. And I realized I've never reviewed the F2. Which the cool thing is I have two F2 lenses. I have one recording this video right now, the same thing, SMC Pentax-M F2, and I'm holding one in my hand. How convenient. So if you like the way this video looks, that's one other extra little caveat or thing I've added to this video. Of course, I do have the Pentax-A version of this lens, and then I have the M 1.7 version of this lens, all 350mm. I just have videos on both of those, so if you guys want to check those out in comparison to this video, you can. Before we get started, I just want to thank God for the ability to take these photos. If it wasn't for Him, we wouldn't be able to take any of the photos of these beautiful things. That may go out at some time in this video because I've taken this video like 7 times. So if it goes out, I'll put it back on. Just let me know, okay? All right, so like I was saying, thank God, always. Let's get into the 4 categories. We have the affordability of this lens. We're going to take a look at the accessibility, build quality, and the versatility. What can we do with this lens? Let's get right into it. So first, the affordability is a 6 for me. And it's like, well, that's coming out of nowhere. Well, it's because these lenses have gone up in value so much since I started this channel and since I've had people viewing this stuff, which I really appreciate all the comments, all the views. I try to get back to you guys all at the same as soon as I can, and please drop your Instagrams, Twitters, Flickrs. I love seeing the photos that you take with some of these lenses that I review. I have a perspective I like to take. I want to see your perspective, so please drop it down if you're comfortable, so we can check it out. I can follow you, and we can have some conversations how these lenses do for you. So for me, I've been looking at this lens specifically, and I found some copies for $30, but then there's a tax heavily on the shipping, which happens sometimes. And then most of the copies I can securely say are over $100. Now, if you're looking to get an affordable lens, especially a 50mm with some of the most immaculate glass and great coatings, which Pentax offers, they have lenses that are comparable for, or even faster, that are around the same price range, if not a lot less. And then if you start adapting this to your own native camera system, your Sony, your Fujifilm, your Lumix, your Nikon, your Canons, you're kind of losing out at a value because you can get your modern lens for under $200. I know some of them are under $300, but when you have a choice between the two, it's like, oh, it's going to be a lot easier to use one of those native lenses. Plus, I can use the post-processing software on my camera to get a lot more of that artificial bokeh if I choose to. So that is something that you kind of have to think about when you're going and approaching purchasing a lens like this. It does do things that some of those other lenses won't, but only someone that is taking the picture or really knows stuff about these lenses will see. And that's just something you got to think about. So for that, it's a 6. So next, let's talk about the accessibility of this lens. It is a prime from SMC, so it's extremely easy to use, just like the other ones I've had. It doesn't have auto aperture, so I gave it an 8 because it doesn't have autofocus or auto aperture, but the focus ring is extremely simple to use and easy to use. It's super easy to get them focused on your subjects, close, far. I was able to throw focus relatively easily. Infinity focus is easy to find, and then controlling the aperture is extremely easy as well. So that's an 8. Talking about build quality, the build quality is fantastic. This lens has been dropped. It's like 5 decades old, and the glass is immaculate. There is a little yellowing on this copy, but the other copy I have is blue still, so that's not too bad. You also have almost no oil on the aperture rings. I didn't see any, almost no dust, in which is a consequence to the images, so I didn't have to take it apart. I threw it on the rack to bend out the filter ring where it was dropped, and it went back to normal completely. So definitely an 8 for me on build quality. Super nice to hold in my hand, and it looks great on the camera. So next, let's talk about the versatility of this lens. It's a 50mm. You can do everything with it. So pretty much this is the lens you pick up if you're not sure what you want to shoot. You can throw this on your camera. If you're using a full frame, it's going to be that full frame 50 mil. So your street photography, portraits, landscapes are all going to look great. You can't really do wildlife, but it's going to look great no matter what. If you move into the asp-c, you're going to get 75. Again, your street photography, your portraits, and your landscapes are going to look great. You might shoot a little bit more wildlife with it. You don't have to get as close. And then once you get to micro four thirds, it's 100. Your portraits are going to look quite exquisite, or give you that 75 to 135 range on portraits is what I hear is really good. I've always stuck with 50. Sometimes I go up to 75, but usually I stay with 50. That's just my style more so. But I know a lot of people really enjoy that top half portrait photography, and it looks fantastic. I will not knock that. So this lens will do great with that. And then with your landscapes, it's going to be a little bit harder. Your street photography, you're going to be able to get closer to your subjects, but it's going to really limit how wide that angle is going to look. So overall, I gave that an 8. It is a pretty decent lens that's going to be extremely versatile, especially just upon those different sensor sizes. You have that berth that you could use it, and they're all amazing prime lenses to have, especially at those different focal ranges. So overall, this got a rating of 7.75, which I'll bump it up to an 8 just to be nice and fancy. So it's an 8 out of 10. Would I recommend this lens? And my honest opinion is no. And the reason why I say that, for an amateur person that's just picking this up, not amateur, but somebody that's just, having fun getting into cameras, this is not a lens I would think that you should search out and try and find. I think the SMC Pentax-A 50mm f2 version of this lens is very comparable. There is very little things that are off between the two. This one has full body metal construction. I think this one has a little bit of, I think it's a plastic focusing ring, I think would be the difference. This one, comparatively to the two, is going to be slightly smaller. And if that's not that big of an issue for you, then I would highly recommend just that one. That one's like a benchmark lens. It's going to do fantastic. It's extremely affordable. It can do pretty much everything this lens does, and it's the same speed. Now the 1.7 is also a fantastic lens to get, and it is around the same size, but I did have more fun shooting with the two over the 1.7. Now, as a professional, you can see that I'm using it to film. These 50 mils are fantastic for filming. I think I had a lot of fun with this, where it was almost second nature using this lens. It was just, I didn't even have to think about it. I just shot. It was super simple, super easy, but it's hard to, even if I had to find it for $100, I'd find it hard for me to purchase it when I know I can buy a native lens, or I could pick up the F2 for the same price. Now, would I keep this in my bag all the time? Probably I'd keep it over the Pentax-A, just because I like this lens a little bit more. But I also like the F version of the SMC Pentax-A, and I mean the 50mm, which I think is like one of the best lenses out there for the SMC system, or the K-mount system. But potatoes with these 50mm. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that really helps you out in your camera lens purchasing decision. I have dived into a couple other mounts and a couple other lenses, because these lenses have become quite expensive since I started this channel. It seems like everybody's getting back into it, and like I said, it does go out, doesn't it? So let me show you guys my secret. So what I do is, of course, I have my computer, so you guys can kind of see what I do, and then I just have it where it's literally the screensaver. I just put the screensaver on. That's what it is. So a lot of these lenses are getting a lot more expensive, so I got to experiment with a couple different mounts, some Nikon mounts, maybe some Russian mounts, some M42 mounts. So I'm going to really expand the berth. It's not just going to be K-mount stuff. We're going to go into a couple different mounts, but they're all going to be shot on several different camera bodies. I am using the A7R II quite a bit right now, just because it is full frame, and I want the full frame example for a lot of these. Plus it's 42 megapixels, so if anybody wants to pixel peep any of the pictures at the end of the video, go ahead and do that. All right, thanks guys. God bless.